Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. ResApp Health is an Australian company. We're developing digital solutions for respiratory disease. My name's Tony Keating. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ResApp. So what we do at ResApp is we change this, or we convert this smartphone that we all have in our pockets into a true medical quality medical device. So there's no accessories required. What we do is we leverage the microphone as a sensor on this phone to make an accurate diagnosis of respiratory conditions. We're an Australian publicly listed company, so I have to put up this disclaimer. But I'll just move on to the highlights of ResApp. So as I said, ResApp is all about turning the microphone on your smartphone into a true medical device. We've been focused over the last 4 years on running clinical studies demonstrating that we can accurately diagnose or measure respiratory disease using the smartphone. We've run multiple double-blind prospective clinical studies, so the gold standard of clinical studies, comparing the performance of our machine learning algorithms to the performance of clinicians making these diagnoses. We now have CE mark approval for our machine learning algorithms for diagnosing acute respiratory disease, and we have an FDA submission under review with the FDA. Right now, we're at that critical stage in the company of moving towards commercialization. So we have those regulatory approvals underway, and we're now moving into the business development phase. So let's just start talking about respiratory disease to begin with. So respiratory disease is the most common reason for someone to go and visit the doctor. These are diseases that can be something as simple as a common cold, but more serious diseases such as pneumonia or an asthma exacerbation or a COPD exacerbation. The real key understanding you need to understand here with respiratory disease is that these are not easy to diagnose today. So today you're diagnosing them with a stethoscope, with imaging, with blood tests, basically with a whole suite of tests that a clinician then pulls together to come up with what ends up being a relatively subjective diagnosis. That diagnosis takes time. You need to get all these tests performed and results obtained. It's expensive. Chest X-ray in the United States is $200 to $300 a chest X-ray. And in the end, it's not very accurate. So we've done a number of studies, and there is a lot of studies in literature showing that accuracy of clinicians in diagnosing these diseases can be in the 60, 70, maybe 80% range. So we ran a large study where we had 3 clinicians looking at acute patients entering an emergency department. Those clinicians had access to the full suite of tests, chest X-rays, blood tests, even the response to treatment, and they were still only agreeing with each other 70% of the time. So our technology was originally developed at the University of Queensland. It's based on machine learning algorithms. Essentially what we do is we listen for cough sounds, we analyze signatures inside those cough sounds and make a diagnosis from those signatures. So you can think of it a little bit like Shazam. Shazam listens for music and gives you an artist and title from the signatures that are in that music. We look for signatures inside cough sounds that match to particular diseases. So effectively what you do is you hold the phone about an arm's length away from a patient. The patient provides 5 coughs, as you can see here. We ask a few symptom questions about the patient, their date of birth, the symptoms such as whether they have a fever or a runny nose. These help our algorithms refine their diagnosis further. And then instantaneously on the phone, we provide a diagnosis. So there's no cloud server required. All of our algorithms are deployed onto the phone itself. And the analysis is done then and there. So this makes it very easy to deploy, very highly scalable diagnostic test. We've been focused on clinical trials now for the last 4 years. We've recruited over 6,000 patients in clinical trials in the United States and in Australia. As I said earlier, what we do is we compare our diagnosis to a clinical diagnosis formed by a clinical adjudication committee. So we get 3 clinicians to diagnose these patients using all the available information, which includes the chest X-ray and the blood tests, and that provides our reference standard. We then use our diagnosis and we do a direct comparison between there. We're using the terms here PPA and NPA, positive percent agreement and negative percent agreement. That's because the FDA say that if you don't have a gold standard diagnosis, which we don't in respiratory, we have a clinical diagnosis, you need to use these terms, positive percent agreement and negative percent agreement, rather than sensitivity and specificity. But effectively, they're calculated in exactly the same way. So we've run these studies and demonstrating over 80% and close to 90% accuracy in diagnosing respiratory diseases from pneumonia in children to COPD exacerbations in adults, all through cough sounds. And based on this clinical evidence, we've submitted to CE and obtained CE approval as a Class 2 medical device, Class 2A medical device. And we have an FDA submission as a de novo FDA submission for the US under review. We've also published this work. So this work's been published in peer-reviewed medical journals. It's been presented at major respiratory conferences, including the American Thoracic Society and the European Respiratory Society in Spain. As I said at the beginning, right now we're beginning the commercial journey for the company. We have regulatory approvals in Europe and Australia. We also are expecting regulatory approvals in the US following our de novo application. And so right now we're working on those next stages. So we're engaged with key opinion leaders, we're publishing at conferences, we're generating the health economic outcome data that we need to bring this product to market. And how do we bring it to market? Where's the opportunity? Well, the opportunity that we saw when we founded this company 4 years ago was in telehealth. So in telehealth, you're seeing your doctor through a video consultation, and the main focus there, or a main focus, is for respiratory disease. When we talk to major telehealth companies, they let us know that roughly 50 or even greater than 50% of telehealth consultations are respiratory related. The issue that we have here is that you can't listen with a stethoscope over a video call. So your only option as a telehealth company today is to try to deploy a digital stethoscope to your millions of customers, which is just not economically viable. It just isn't going to work. So we provide really the only way for those clinicians to make an accurate respiratory disease diagnosis over a telehealth consultation using the patient's own phone. So there's no stethoscope that you have to send out to your millions of customers. When we started the company, as I said, we started with telehealth in mind. But now that we've been running clinical studies in hospitals and emergency departments, we've seen significant interest in using this, in particular in the triage department of emergency. So if you can triage a patient as they walk into the emergency department, you can prioritize them, you can put them in the right place at that point of care, then we see a really strong value proposition from our technology in reducing time to treat and reducing patient or improving patient flow through the emergency department. Our business model in all of these cases is essentially pay per use, per diagnostic test. That's how we provide value. We provide value on providing a diagnosis for a particular patient. So our business model, our pricing model is every time the test is used, we get paid. We have been developing a pipeline of opportunities, of products based on the underlying technology. The underlying technology being that we have effectively what is a biomarker for lung health based on cough sounds. So we're not just operating in the acute diagnosis space. We have products under development in the chronic disease space to manage people with COPD and asthma. If we can tell somebody whether their COPD or asthma is getting worse or getting better, that has implications for the management of those diseases. We're working with Sanofi on a consumer health version of the product, which is about triaging and symptom checking. And then we're also working with Lockheed Martin in the US around monitoring patients 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to then be able to predict disease and predict health. I'll talk a little bit about sleep apnea as well, but sleep apnea, again, is the state of your respiratory tract is available in the information from the sound of your sleeping. So just briefly on chronic disease management, I'm sure many of you know that asthma and COPD represent a major disease burden globally. One of the issues with these diseases is people are managing their disease day in, day out for the rest of their lives. They're trying to manage their life with their dosing, with their treatment. We see an opportunity that we have the ability to put in their pocket a way for these patients to be able to measure the severity of their disease on a longitudinal scale every day, every hour. And if we can couple that then with treatment plans, then we have a way for those patients to manage their disease better in an easier way. We have some early results on those which look really promising for COPD exacerbations and measuring severity of asthma, in particular in pediatric patients. So sleep apnea is another area where we were very excited to look at. Sleep apnea has a really interesting commercial opportunity for us in that roughly 80% of people who have sleep apnea don't know that they have sleep apnea. And sleep apnea is not just your snoring. Sleep apnea has really significant health consequences. It's linked to heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, as well as just general tiredness and lack of ability to function. The problem with sleep apnea is to be diagnosed with sleep apnea today is not a pleasant thing. You need to spend a night in a sleep lab, coupled to 12 cables, and try to then get a diagnosis. It takes a referral to get that test done, costs a significant amount of money, and is not really a pleasant thing to do. Our solution is simply placing a smartphone on the bedside table. So we've now run multiple clinical studies where we've validated both in the sleep laboratory and in the home that we can put a smartphone on a bedside table that records your breathing and snoring sounds overnight and is able to accurately diagnose sleep apnea at different levels of severity using just those breathing and snoring sounds. So we have here an opportunity to deliver a very scalable, very low-cost screening tool for sleep apnea that could be run, in somebody's own home with their own phone. So just finally, we have what we believe to be very unique technology based on cough sounds and breathing sounds and snoring sounds to measure what's going on inside the respiratory tract. We have a number of patents, both granted and pending, and we've got significantly large databases of cough sounds, breathing sounds, and matching clinical diagnoses that forms the primary assets of the company. We understand the regulatory pathway very well. We have CE mark approvals as medical devices. We have FDA submission underway and under review. We have multifaceted commercial strategy, including a really key near-term opportunity in telehealth and providing those telehealth clinicians with an accurate way to make a diagnosis, which they don't have today. And we have broadened our product portfolio. So not only are we just diagnosing acute disease, we have opportunities in chronic disease management, we have opportunities in 24/7 monitoring of patients, we have opportunities in sleep apnea. So in general, we have a very expansive opportunity in front of us with some very unique technology. Thank you.